talking cybersecurity today with Marcus Fowler. Marcus is the Director of Strategic Threat for Darktrace. Thanks for being with us here today, Marcus. Talk a little bit about conversations that you've been having with clients, regardless of the size of their business. How have those conversations about cybersecurity changed since the start of the pandemic?
Sure, and I think it is a little unique to industry in terms of whether they're still in survival mode, right, or and trying to kind of make it through because their industry was specifically hit very hard by that, or they're if in like leaning in and transformation mode. I think certainly a really new sense of dependency on cyber and digital, and with that dependency, a recognized vulnerability. So I think there is kind of more invitation for security being in the room at the most senior levels, more appreciation for understand what, could we have prevented that? What does this mean for us? So a broader discussion there. And I hope that continues. It was a trend even before the pandemic, but I think it's accelerated too. I think what you had is, out of the gate, you had changes in business operations such that the security team kind of had to catch up. And now there's dependency on the security team for ensuring that what's in place is sound and secure, right? Business resilience, not just business success, is really, tied together. And I think there's a very visceral understanding of that.
Okay, and Marcus, as we roll into 2021 now, what are, in your opinion, are the biggest threats when it comes to cybersecurity that we're facing?
So yeah, I think you kind of put a good point on there in threats, because I think there are two areas where people are concerned. One is the changing threat space, and one is how changes or security requirements that change in which, so how they're saying. So I think from the threat space, I think the greatest threat I often hear about is ransomware, right? And what they're really worried about, because that is so you really can sense that nobody wants to be kept at ransom, right? And so you can get that. For me personally, a more concerning threat is an insider threat, right? I think that one is which can come through something like a supply chain, but it is somebody already behind the walls and kind of taking advantage of intellectual property or espionage or doing damage to a company. So those two to me are the leading candidates of concern. In terms of what I'm hearing, not from a kind of threat actor space, but in terms of like my digital environment and where I'm worried, it's probably two areas. One, what changes in visibility and understanding have occurred as I've moved to things like SaaS or in the cloud, right? And how has that changed from a security team? I mean, it is one of the areas certainly where Darktrace as a company has leaned in terms of being able to be on the endpoint, being able to bring in those VPN logs and all those different data ingestion points. Because again, without visibility and understanding, you're really not going to do very, very well in that security fight. I think the other is how to augment that human security team, right? I think across the industry, we often hear about the skills gap, which some laughingly call really a unicorn gap, because companies are looking for these amazing potential employees that have every certificate under the sun, to include 4 years of experience on something that was released 2 years ago, but the reality is, when I talk to companies, it's actually a cycle shortage. There's more work than the human team can do, and with that, we're using AI to augment the human team by doing autonomous investigation, by doing autonomous triage, by arming the human team, those human experts, to be 20 to 30 minutes into every investigation the second they start the investigation, because that commodity and heavy lifting has already occurred, because the AI is doing that behind the background. And that's an area we continue to expand. I mean, you mentioned my time at the CIA. I did a decade of counterterrorism. My greatest stress every day was, am I using, as a manager and as a leader, am I using my critical human resources in the most efficient way against the most credible and imminent threats? And it was really hard for me day in, day out to say with confidence that I was, but something like an AI analyst or this autonomous, helping you with threat prioritization, helping your people get further in their day in terms of all the different investigations they're going, is really an enabler and powerful.
All right, very important conversation, Marcus. Thanks for being here with me today. For much more on cybersecurity and what you need to know, make sure you check out Tech Republic and ZDNet.